Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Krysan here on this Tuesday edition of Sports Shorts Daily. And today on the show, we are going to talk about the World Series, the Major League Baseball World Series, tied one game apiece. It was supposed to play game three. Rain out happened, and now that all the pitchers like it, they're going to back up a little bit. Tommy, I'm not a big fan of playing Major League Baseball in the month of November. So, I mean, but that it is what it is. And when you have those issues, you're going to have cold, you're going to have bad weather, especially when you play in cities that don't have domes. And that's what we're dealing with. And it's going to be a mess in Philly until they can get back to Houston. Good news for Nola. He's going to expected to pitch game 5. Will they move him up to game 4? Will they leave him in game 5 and get him extra rest? That's good for the Phillies, who had their top 2 pitchers need some extra love and care in their arms. Also, today, we're going to talk a little bit about the big news in the SEC. John Cohen left, the athletic director, left Mississippi State. He's now at Auburn. What does that mean for Auburn football? What does that mean even for Auburn baseball? But John Cohen kind of surprised a lot of people. He'd been at Mississippi State a long time as a baseball coach and athletic director. Clearly has done a good job. They just won a national championship in baseball a couple years ago. Football's on a good path for them. But he said, he's going to strike while the iron's hot. And I guess John Cohen just likes living in small towns, Tom. He's going from Starkville to Auburn, Alabama. Also, we'll talk about some of the names that are being linked to them. Alabama, LSU at the moment. The line is settling at around 13. The Tigers are a 13-point dog, over under only 58. I'm curious what TK thinks of that. I think both offenses are pretty high flying. And Georgia, Tennessee, another fantastic game. Georgia, Tennessee, an 8.5-point dog, against the Dogs. Over under on that one a little higher at 66. Some other work. The Pelicans are on a roll. Hey, they win against the Clippers on the road, even shorthanded. They're now 4-2, and the Lakers finally got off the schneid. Their first win against the Nuggets. They're 1-5. Those two teams are going to be playing. Tonight, don't forget to check out. Don't Hold the Rope on YouTube. Check out Hold the Rope on YouTube. Tommy, Dan, and Skip, and they're going to have some special guests, Ryan Terrio and Verge Osbury, on there. You don't want to miss that tonight. All right, TK's joining us from Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. TK, how was your weekend, my friend?
It was really good, Ronnie. Got a lot of good stuff done, and enjoyed some Halloween festivities and parties on Saturday and Sunday. So it was really good.
Did you do the dress-up thing? Did you go costume?
Well, I binge watched Yellowstone, and I'm totally caught up. And I had the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch shirt on. Okay. A couple people said, "Hey, John Dutton, I thought about going to get a cowboy hat." But
you should have done a cowboy hat.
Well, I didn't think about it until 2:00 Saturday. But here was the thing: I'm sitting at the ice house, and a girl who was trying to be Beth Dutton. Okay, she didn't quite get there, but you could tell that was the attempt. She comes up to me. She goes, "Hey, John, you got to see my husband, Rip, is outside. Rip Wheeler,
Right.
Ronnie, I thought it was Rip Wheeler. This guy had the hat, the shades, the beers, the toothpick going. I mean, he had the big leather jacket with the Yellowstone. I thought it was really, really, really Rip Wheeler. Okay, that's how much her husband looked like him. So I did do, I don't know if you call that a costume, but I kind of went with the Yellowstone theme.
Well, I tell you, I saw there were a few Yellowstones that I ran into. Now, I was on Saturday night. I was at LeBare's Casino. I was a judge and MC for their Halloween. Right, Molly Ringwalds were in concert, and they had probably 800 people show up for the show at the event center. And I'm telling you, I say this every year, Tommy, for folks that are always kind of wondering party that Saturday night of Halloween. The best party in town is at LeBare's Casino. It's I think it's like 8 to about midnight, and it's upstairs in the event center, and it's usually the Molly Ringwalds unless something weird happens. And then we also have a $5,000 costume contest. They have an individual category, they have a group category, they have a good ghouls gone bad category for the sexy women out there in their costumes. And I mean, way more than half, if not 3/4 of 800 people are in costume. So you see some great costumes, and did not disappoint again this year. But I did see a couple of Yellowstones, and I did see what you're talking about. One of the rips. There was a guy that was a rip that was really good. Might have been the same guy before something like that, but it was really good. I'm a big fan of creative costumes. Now, I can appreciate somebody who spent 9 months working on their costume at home, and it's some monster creature or something crazy. But I like funny. I like creative. This was one I saw. I didn't win or anything at LeBaird's, but it tickled me a little bit. Nunchucks. Okay, remember nunchucks?
Yeah.
The fighting sticks. Yeah. On the chain and everything. It was two people dressed as nuns, and then they had this big cube, like the big cork thing at the top with a chain that connected both of them. And instead of nunchucks, it was nunchucks. I loved it. Man.
No, I'm gonna go with you. I wish I'd have saw that. That was I heard out at LeBaird's they had the Flintstones, like the car thing. I heard that was like real, like they put like tons of time and money into it.
Yeah, they had Wilma, excuse me, and Fred Flintstone, but not just dressed up like them. They looked great, but they were in a car that the guy made. Imagine like a small golf cart with the wheels on the front that are the stones. They look like stones, but they're not. And the guy would yell, "Yabba dabba doo," I mean, like as loud as you could possibly yell it. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Let's say this, right? I got to throw this in there. But Halloween's the night of the year that the women, the ladies, can dress like they're not going to dress. I'm going to be nice here. They can dress like they're not going to dress the rest of the year.
Right.
I'm here to tell you, there was some talent in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. Well, you over at the Ice House, that probably didn't disappoint. All right. So
I got to mention this too, because you're a music guy. One Wants played at the Ice House. Wow, are they good?
Look, I see the Molly Ringwalds, and the Molly Ringwalds, Tommy, I don't know how old those guys are. They're all in their 50s, I think, in the band. And they've been around for 30 years, whatever. Everybody's seen the Molly Ringwalds forever. And, you get the Molly Ringwalds, you got the Chiwis, you got the Bag of Donuts. They're all kind of in that same category. They're all about the same age. They all play the retro stuff from the 70s and 80s and 90s. And they all put on a very similar show. But the Mollies, to me, are still the best. They spend the money on the stage production as well and the equipment and they sound the best. They play the best. They're all very good. I enjoy them all. But the Mollies, I usually get to see them for sure once a year, sometimes twice a year. And I'm never tired of it. Never tired of it. All right, let's talk a little bit about over the weekend. Obviously, LSU had an off week, but let's go to the New Orleans Saints because obviously we haven't done Sports Shorts Daily since Friday. The New Orleans Saints, where did this come from? 24-0, they beat the Raiders. And look, this is why I hate betting on the Saints and betting on LSU, because I want to be able to just pull for the team, let them win by one, ugly, good, doesn't matter, and just be happy they won. And my dumbass Tommy goes out there and I take the over. I take the over Raiders and Saints. They couldn't have come any. I mean, the over under was 48.5. They only scored 24. I wasn't even close. But who saw this coming? Stevie Wonder did. Nobody did, because you have a team in the Saints who have one of the worst points allowed defenses in the league. You get the Raiders, who were third in the entire NFL in points scored, and the Saints defenses looked like trash this year. And all of a sudden, the Saints defense looked like the 80 Bears, and they win 24-0.
Well, I'll tell you what, I texted some people after the game. Who was that wearing the Saints uniforms? I mean, unbelievable. I had the Saints on the money line plus $1.05, so I was happy. But, Ronnie, that was one of them games. You and I have talked about this many times over the years. That was one of them games you just knew the Saints were going to win the game. About halfway through the second quarter, you knew they were going to win the game. You just didn't know the score. So, man, tip your hat to the Saints. Falcons lead the division at 4-4. Saints are 3-5 right behind them. So that was cool. It was great to see Todd McClure's thing with the Ring of Honor. By the way, the picture Todd posted of his teammate in Atlanta and he grew up across town against Warwick Dunn.
Warwick
Warwick Dunn was holding the red jacket when Todd came out and they put it on him. That was pretty cool for Baton Rouge sports fans who, those two guys played different schools in high school and college, obviously, but teammates with the Falcons. That was cool. But the Saints, wow, man, Andy Dalton looked good. Kamara looked really good. He had his best game in a while. Now, the NFL trade deadline's today, I think 3 o'clock Central Time. Rumors that Kamara is going to get moved. Now, I find that hard to believe unless they could get a first-round pick for him, because the Saints don't have a first-round pick.
So the reason for moving Kamara is what? Is his contract up at the end of the year or something?
He's got a big hit on the salary cap, and you got the looming thing with the incident in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's right. He's going to be suspended a number of games. Well, we think he's going to be suspended a number of games.
We don't know.
I mean, Deshaun Watson, look at him. We thought he would be out for forever.
He should never play in the NFL again. That's my opinion, but it's not up to me. But Kamara is going to get – I think he gets something, but maybe he don't.
I think if the Saints believe there's any chance that they have a chance to win, and of course, obviously in this trash division and coming off of a game where you just won 24-0 and he was a superstar, I think you'd be silly to get – I think the Saints fans would lose their mind if Alvin Kamara gets traded. I got to believe that they're not going to do that.
I don't think they are. I really don't. If I had to bet the Diet Coke on it right now, I'd say no. But, stranger things have happened. And when there's smoke, there's fire. Buffalo tried to get him, and Buffalo's a legitimate Super Bowl contender. They're saying other teams are putting together offers. Now, again, the dust's going to have to settle by, this afternoon. And certainly if we have to talk about it tomorrow, we will.
Most of the things, obviously the fact that, to me, one of the reasons that he wouldn't be traded is because it did get out that the Saints turned down the offer from the Raiders, right? I believe it was the Raiders.
The Raiders and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot the team, but they announced that they had turned, or it got out that they turned it down. Usually these kinds of deals with a guy like an Alvin Kamara, it just like happens and we pick up the phone. But the fact that we know that there were offers made and that they turned it down, I'm hopeful that, obviously Kamara knows that the conversations are going on. He just had one of his best games of the year. The Saints had their best game of the year. The fans and everybody are feeling positive. They're feeling like, okay, hey, all right. Dennis Allen said this team is this close, and we're on the verge of putting together one of these runs of winning 4 or 5 games in a row. All right, maybe he knew what he was doing and knew what he was talking about. Here we go. And you don't do that without 41. So, man, I think in this day and age, Tommy, I would roll the dice on Alvin Kamara with the suspension with the NFL, because the fact that Deshaun Watson only got 10 games, 12 games, whatever it ended up being, and he didn't get a season, didn't get a lifetime ban. I think Alvin Kamara is going to get less, and he's just too freaking good. He's just too freaking good.
I got a wild thought for you. Okay. And Jamie asked the question, who's being considered for a trade? Here we go, Ronnie. You ready for this? I'm coming out of left field. Might they trade Jameis Winston? They named Dalton the quarterback going forward, even though Winston's healthy. I don't know. Stranger things have happened.
I'd be down with that, but who the heck is going to give the Saints anything for Jameis Winston? That's the only problem. Is that is there really a market for him? I don't know how there could be.
It's just one of them wild things, because it was a little odd. Okay, Dalton's a quarterback, even though Winston's healthy. Or if they wanted to trade Winston, would they put him out there and he maybe had a big game and somebody wanted him? I don't know. There's enough tape on Jameis Winston. People know who and what he is.
So right now, of course, because they backloaded everything on the salary for salary cap purposes, here's where we're at. Next year, 2023, Kamara's cap hit is going to be $16 million. 24, it's going to be 16.8, and in 25, it's going to be $27 million. And because he's only making a base salary of $1 million this year with a $3 million signing bonus, and they've been kicking everything down the line. Next year, he's supposed to make 9.4, the year after 10.2, and the year after 22.4, and with $3 million signing bonuses each year, except for 25. So they set up the contract to help with the salary cap. Mickey Loomis and the New Orleans Saints have shown that if they like a player, if they believe that player makes a difference, they'll get the salary cap stuff worked out. And I would think if you're Alvin Kamara, I would think if you're Alvin Kamara, like, why wouldn't you want to stay in New Orleans? I would think, and especially if they show him loyalty after the suspension stuff that's looming and everything, and like they have, I would think there'd be on both sides, guys. I think they can work this out. And I sure hope they do.
Yeah, I would think they should, would, could, whatever you want to say.
So Chance saying Jameis Winston is worth a seventh and some crab legs. I don't know if he's worth a seventh, maybe just some crab legs. I like the idea of getting something. I'd love the idea of getting something for Jameis Winston and going with Taysom Hill as the backup if that's the direction that the Saints believe in. I just don't think there's anything for Jameis Winston. I mean, usually you see players get traded unless they're quarterbacks, or McCaffrey, which is like a Kamara. You just don't see enough. You don't see enough value for him usually.
Yeah.
All right. So we move on from the New Orleans Saints. An impressive performance. Killed me on the over/under. I'm glad to lose the money if it means that the Saints are now going to go on a road. Oh, by the way, Devery Henderson had his, inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame over the weekend, along with Fred McAfee. But I watched Devery Henderson's speech that he gave over the weekend at one of the events, and he's not a good talker. Devery's a super nice guy. He's a shy guy, doesn't like the camera, doesn't feel comfortable talking in front of the camera. I first met him at Appaloosa's High. We did a story on him on Prep TV, which was a TV show I worked on for 5 years as the producer back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it was a terrible interview back then. And, along with a lot of great, Brandon Jacobs was a terrible interview at Assumption High. And now those guys are obviously a lot better as grownups because they, over time. But Devery gave a very heartfelt speech, and it's only 7 or 8 minutes. You can find it on the Saints website. But one of the things he really talked about was just the fact that he loved playing in Louisiana. He got to play at Opelousas High, got to play for the LSU Tigers, and got to play for the New Orleans Saints. And he credited LSU and Nick Saban for teaching him how to be a great player. Remember, he was a running back coming out of high school. They converted him to wide receiver. And also remember, Michael Clayton was on the team at LSU, and he was the star first-round pick. Devery was a second-round pick because he could really run. And so anyway, he gave a lot of love to LSU and the fans in the state of Louisiana, and loves the fact that he was able to play his whole career in the state. And so congratulations to him on going into the Hall of Fame. Averaged nearly 18 yards a catch. That's a record that'll stand for probably forever with the New Orleans Saints. Okay, TK, let's go. Let's talk LSU for a minute. The Tigers line started at 17. Now it's down to 13. Some places you might even see it at 12.5 as far as Alabama being a favorite. Why, in your opinion, is the Alabama line so big, considering, look, they played A&M close. They lost to Tennessee. They played Texas close. I think LSU's a better team than Texas. Everybody does. Why is the spread so big?
I don't know. Maybe because LSU had won in Baton Rouge since 2010. Alabama's still Alabama. Have they shown a little vulnerability this year? Yes, they have. But it's still Alabama. They know this is a big game. They know it's for control of the SEC West. I mean, this is huge. Nobody thought LSU would be in this spot. People kind of thought, Bama, yeah, they're going to be in this spot. So I don't know why the line is so big. I mean, I'll say it here on Tuesday. Take LSU in the points in case it goes down to 11 or 10 before kickoff. Because I'm in that group of people, nationally and locally, many of the local guys. LSU's got a shot to win this game straight up. I listened to Brian Kelly yesterday. If they can start fast or not start poorly, like fumbling the kickoff against Tennessee, LSU has shown they're a second-half team. They make adjustments at halftime. They're conditioned physically and mentally, perhaps better than other teams. Coach Kelly talked about putting that in July and August and how it kept the injuries in camp down a little bit, the major injuries. So, I don't know. I'm in that group now that thinks LSU's got a shot to win this football game. And certainly if they get to the fourth quarter, Tiger Stadium is going to be nuts. The fans are going to be there. Anything can happen. And, maybe it's just time for them to beat the Tide in Baton Rouge.
I think Bryce, the thing that concerns me is Bryce Young. He's got 2 weeks to kind of heal up, and they are a completely different team, obviously, with him. He's a guy that, if the game is close, if it comes down to a final drive or something like that, you just have all the confidence in the world he's going to get it done. No matter how the impressive thing is he can look bad for 2 or 3 quarters and then all of a sudden be the best player on the field for one of the quarters and change the whole game around. So you got a legitimate guy in that. Now for LSU, do they have a guy like that at quarterback? Like, do we believe now in Daniels that he is that guy after what we've seen in Florida and that we've seen at Ole Miss and how this thing has now started to click? Are we buying that he's now LSU's Bryce Young? Are we really, and obviously after this game, we'll know. And we win or lose, we'll know. If he goes out there and has a big game again, 3 games in a row against a big time opponent and a great team in Alabama, then all of a sudden LSU's got a guy that they're like, you know what? We convince him to come back next year. We got a chance to, he's got a chance not only to win some personal awards, but we got a chance to maybe win a championship. And so they're going to learn a lot about this guy. Nail in the coffin. Learn a lot about him in this game. But so I do think I'm not going to bet it, but I do think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. I do not expect it to be a New Orleans shocker where all of a sudden the defense rises up and holds Alabama in check. I do think both offenses are outstanding. I think both defenses have question marks. And so I would probably take the over, Tommy, in this one if I had to.
I'd lean to the over right now. Jayden Daniels has been getting better all season long, not just with the 2 big games, big numbers he just put up. There's been a gradual improvement with Jayden Daniels. I think now this is the quarterback Brian Kelly thought he had when the guy came in from Arizona State, and a guy that Kelly thought could operate in their offense. And now if he continues to improve after the open date, if he, they've worked very hard, I'm sure. If he continues to improve, they're going to put some points on the board. I mean, people have scored against Alabama this year. Their defense is not maybe what you think of a traditional Alabama defense. Yeah, they got Will Anderson. They got the end on the other side really good, too. I think the key is can LSU run the football, which then opens up things for Jayden Daniels. And that's going to be a key. And maybe that's why the line's so high is maybe the wise guys don't think LSU can run the football.
Well, can LSU's freshman All-Americans at tackle handle veteran All-Americans on the other side? Like that to me is going to be a key for that offense. That offense has got to give Daniels a little bit of time.
And let me say this, right? If you go back in the last 10 years, quarterbacks who gave Alabama trouble or quarterbacks like Jayden Daniels, you go back to Johnny Manziel, who was the guy at Ole Miss that when they beat him 2 years in a row, that Kelly was his name, Jim Kelly's nephew, whatever. Guys who can take off, guys who can extend the play. That tends to affect Bama a little more than that guy that's going to sit back there and try to throw it, or the team that's just going to hand it off all day. So that I think is a plus for the LSU angle if Daniels can have that big game. And they're expecting some guys back from injury. Major Burns is back. Emery's supposed to be back. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I always struggle with how the off week benefits a team. If you're on a roll, don't you want to keep playing? Obviously, it benefits you health wise. The bruises, but it also, in this case, when you're going against arguably the greatest college coach of all time, and Nick Saban, I don't want that guy to have an extra week, to prepare. I don't want him to be able to look at you for 2 whole weeks and not have a distraction and game plan you. He's going to win that battle. I don't care who he plays.
Well, I'll say this. Many, many years ago, sportscaster Jordy Holberg used to always say, he still says it probably, the bye should be after the Alabama game, not before. And that was just his opinion. His feeling was keep your momentum going for the week before and take the week off after the game. He said that 20 years ago, and I remember him saying that, and I can understand why he's saying that maybe that'd be a good idea. But It's all going to matter Saturday night at 6:00.
Let's see. Chance was asking, why is the Tennessee spread so big? Too. Tennessee is an 8.5-point dog, arguably the best team in the country right now, taking on Georgia, an 8.5-point dog, over under 66. I would say that part of this is not. People have to always remember when they set those spreads. When the crooked nose guys have set those spreads, it's not based on who they think's going to win and actually by how much. It's what they think the voting public is gonna anticipate and do on each side. And usually teams like Georgia, because of recent success in the last few years and defending national champ, and who's dominated, like when you know, like Alabama LSU. Alabama has dominated this series over the last 13 years. Dominated. Georgia has dominated the Tennessee series over the last 15, 20 years. Whenever you have a body of work like that and one team, one dominant franchise or one dominant school that has just had a stranglehold on another, I think that whole body of work and the history of it comes into play because they know the gamblers are going to bet that way. They're not breaking down the 12 starters on the 24 starters and all these different things. They're going with their gut and their reaction and their feeling. And usually Georgia beats Tennessee. And usually Georgia's a much better team than Tennessee. So even though Tennessee's having a great team this year, it doesn't usually make the spread as low as you expect it to be because it goes off of, for 20 years they've dominated Tennessee and Georgia, and they know the money's going to pour in, for Georgia. And so I think that's why the spread is probably higher than what reality should be.
I agree with all that. And, I'm one of the people who believes Tennessee's for real. That's why I picked them to beat LSU, and they did. I think they're for real. And they got the Alabama thing off their back and beat Alabama. I think they're for real. Hendon Hooker was a good quarterback at Virginia Tech. Obviously, he's got a better supporting cast right now. Now they're playing tougher opponents as well, and he's still being effective. He's got so many weapons. It's almost like LSU 2019-ish. Where you got a good quarterback and weapons that he can spread the ball all around the place. They play good enough defense in spots. Tennessee, they're the story of the year, no doubt. Now, if they got the Bama thing off their back, albeit one win, can they go into Athens behind the bushes, as Charlie McClendon used to say, and take care of Georgia? Georgia is only the defending national champs and hadn't lost.
2 top 4 teams. Looking forward to it, man. Can't wait.
No, I'm telling you, if you're a college football fan, put your seatbelt on. You got Georgia, Tennessee, then LSU, Bama. Both winners probably play in Atlanta in early December. Probably, not for sure.
I think that's fair. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's let's put your seatbelt on, or get ready for some unbelievable football. Let's hope they live up to expectations.
All right, so. Talking about, Saturday is just going to be amazing. And think about the tailgating scene out at LSU. It could be a late arriving crowd in the Tiger Stadium as folks are going to be watching Georgia and Tennessee at their tailgate parties. And if it's a close game at the very end, you're going to see a lot of LSU fans getting in there. Probably a little later than you would think for LSU Alabama.
You see Rachel's question?
Are we still betting Bama first half line, Ronnie? Whew. Man, that has been a rough one this year. What the hell?
I'd say this week, yeah, but then you take LSU and the points to win the game.
Rachel,
LSU hasn't started fast yet. They haven't had a game where they came out just hitting on all cylinders.
I can't, Rachel. I'm not going to bet this Alabama-Georgia game first half line. I'm just going to lay it all. I just want to go to this game and enjoy it and pull for the Tigers. I can't see myself pulling for Alabama against LSU to score in the first half. No, I think you just got to lay off on
this. Is the SEC semifinals of the playoffs.
So, Carl Dunn is yes, 100%, Carl, 100%. Your Heisman Trophy winner if he wins this weekend.
Well, in that ESPN thing, he passed up C.J. Stroud as the best quarterback in the country. Now look, Hooker's the real deal, man. He can move. He's got a very good arm. People don't talk about that. And he's accurate. He is so accurate. And a lot of times he throws that ball where only his guy can get it. And everybody knows that's important.
Yeah, Hooker for Heisman is definitely in full effect. They win this weekend. You start booking your flight to the ceremony.
Yeah, I think that's a fact too.
All right, so let's talk real quick. I want to get your reaction. John Cohen leaving Mississippi State. This kind of took everybody by surprise. He's now the new AD at Auburn. Comes in day one, bam, the president fires their football coach. Why did Cohen leave? And in your opinion?
Well, one of the things I read, Ross Dellinger, who used to write for the Advocate here in Baton Rouge, now writes for Sports Illustrated, he made a point on social media yesterday that Auburn is so far ahead of Mississippi State with the collective NIL stuff that may have been attractive to Cohen. I was a little surprised when Cohen became the AD at Mississippi State, went from the baseball coach to the AD. That surprised me a little bit, although I don't know John Cohen. Maybe he's got that business mind. And then I was really surprised when I saw that Auburn came out early yesterday that they were targeting him, or it came out Sunday to be the AD. Their AD resigned in August. They got an interim guy. And all of a sudden, boom, he's named coach. Now, he didn't fire Brian Harsin. The president at Auburn took care of that. So it's not really on Cohen, but I'm sure his first thing to do at work is find a football coach. Because the Harsin thing was just a bad thing from day one. And there's layers and layers of reasons why. I'm sure everybody knows, and if not, we can talk about it later. But I was surprised. But John Cohen will go to AD Mississippi State. But when you read what Ross Dellinger said, this is a financial thing. And he's probably going to make twice the money at Auburn as AD than he made at Mississippi State. I'm guessing there. I haven't seen those numbers. But, Auburn, and then, of course, now there's the list of 13 people to potentially take the Auburn football job. And, of course, you got to recruit against Alabama.
You hear names like Hugh Freeze and Deion Sanders and Rule and others. Would Lane Kiffin leave and things like that? I know John Cohen a little bit. Knew him when he was the coach at Kentucky really well. Knew him when he was the baseball coach at Mississippi State. I haven't really talked to him much since he's been the AD at Mississippi State, but kind of have a feeling for the guy and who he is and whatnot. He's not a hands-off AD, right? He's not. He was a coach, so he has some opinions, or he knows structure, and he knows kind of how things are supposed to look and feel behind the scenes. So there's a couple of these guys that I can't see. It would be surprising to me to see if his personality and his style would fit with a Lane Kiffin, or his personality or style would fit with a Deion Sanders. I'm thinking more traditional in the sense that of somebody of how he can communicate. Now, I know when you say that, wait a minute, who's the coach of Mississippi State right now? Leach. But there's a different way. Leach is more laid back and more beach bum, and he's got quirky things that he says. But as far as dealing with Leach day in and day out as the AD, he's not making it difficult on John Cohen. I think if you have a football coach that is his own brand and is going to maybe air some of the laundry out in public, that's not going to bode well with the John Cohen at all. So, we'll see. We'll see what it means for the Auburn job. How aggressive can they be, Tommy? They've got so much money tied up in the last two coaches. They've got how much?
They're paying $54,000 a day in coach buyouts.
It's for like a long time. They got to come up with $7.5 million in 30 days. They've got. They've got two coaches that they're paying out, Malzahn and Hartson, that are $30+ million. So how much money can they really have to go buy even more? Wow. But
Jamie makes a good point. Auburn's got a larger budget, much larger than Mississippi State. He said prime time should be able to recruit against Alabama. Hey, this might be the perfect spot for Deion Sanders if he can get along with Cohen. And if Cohen's going to let Deion be Deion,
well, that's
Deion's going to let Cohen, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Chance mentions Jeff Grimes as a candidate, long shot candidate. Auburn's got to make a splash hire. Use the old cliche, splash hire. They got to get Deion Sanders. Hugh Freeze is a question mark whether the SEC would allow that to happen due to what happened at Ole Miss. I read a story on that yesterday. But if you pull, I don't think they get Lane Kiffin. There's no way in hell I think Lane Kiffin wants to recruit against Alabama. I really don't. He's doing great in Ole Miss. Ole Miss will pay him more money. He may throw his name in there just to get a new contract from Ole Miss. I don't think he's the guy. But if you get Deion Sanders, or if they could bring Mike Leach in. I mean,
If
you know,
Auburn
who
got
knows? Do
Deion's,
they get? I mean, there's a lot of names out there. We'll see.
if Auburn got Deion Sanders, I think Aflac commercials would run 24/7.
Oh, Aflac could be happy.
Alabama.
Aflac could be real happy.
All right, TK. Listen, we'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll get into some more lists.
8:30. Like hey, all you guys out there, 8:30 tomorrow morning. I'll be at Tremonti's. We'll have plenty to talk about, you know, every day this week. And of course, it's LSU Bama week and things. And don't forget, hold the rope tonight. Okay, hey, we got Verge Osbury, got a lot of insight on the business of sports. We got Ryan Terrio, who played for Dusty Baker. He won two World Series. He's going to have some great insight tonight. Go to YouTube and subscribe to Hold the Rope, Skip and Cano. Hold the Rope, Skip and Cano. We'll go live at 6 o'clock tonight. If you miss it tonight, you can watch it anytime on YouTube. So we want you to check that out. Big show planned for you tonight with Hold the Rope. Again, subscribe to YouTube. Hold the Rope Show, Skip and Cano. We'll be live tonight at 6 o'clock with Ryan Terrio and Verge Osbury. Got good stuff coming up tonight.
All right. We'll be back with more Sports Shorts Daily tomorrow. Have a great one, folks. Don't forget Court Street Cafe. We appreciate them for being.
Don't forget Court Street Cafe. Steak night on Saturday. Brunch on Sunday. They'll have the game Saturday night. Lunch specials, dinner specials. Connect on Facebook and Instagram with Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, 805 Court Street, Port Allen. You check it out. You'll be glad you did.
All right. We'll see you.